So when it comes to finding material for these videos that I put on my channel, it requires me to buy some odd, puzzling products, much to the ire of my friends who want me to pick up a new game to play with them. You never know, some of these are either hidden gems waiting to be discovered or dumpster fires worthy of ridicule. And that brings us to the subject of today's video, Grumpy Cat's worst Christmas ever. You know Grumpy Cat, it's a cat with a perpetually disgruntled face, who's used in memes that your grandma shows you on her Obama phone. Grumpy Cat isn't too intricate of a meme, it's just a cat with an unamused expression, and the caption for these memes are usually structured as the top having an innocent sentence, with the punchline bottom text making a witty, somewhat edgy remark. And by edgy, I mean by our grandma standards. Hell, even Doge had more potential. Despite all this, however, Grumpy Cat has exploded into a marketable brand like Pusheen or Garfield. Just about anything you can think of, you can find with Grumpy Cat's face plastered onto it. And that even includes a 90-minute film put on the Lifetime channel. You know Lifetime, the channel that your mom watches, full of semi-popular reality shows and other crap no one cares about anymore. Not to be confused with TLC, which is the channel where all the second-rate commentary channels get their clickbait. With all these brands tying together in this one film, what could possibly go wrong? The film begins with our lovable protagonist, sort of, Grumpy Cat, introducing the pet store in a shopping mall that she lives in. Oh, and by the way, she's voiced by Aubrey Plaza, and the voice just does not fit the cat at all. I mean, maybe kinda, but Aubrey Plaza is not one of the people I would choose to voice the telepathic voice of Grumpy Cat in this film. Speaking of which, this is where we are introduced to the fact that the animals in this movie communicate telepathically with voices or something. It's clear that the filmmakers just shot some footage of the animals and then dubbed it over in post with actors, and it takes a while to adjust to this jarring detail. It honestly feels like an Equals 3 video, it's so corny and hackneyed.
I'm cuter! Plus I had 2 chair legs, shoes, leather purses. Darn, almost had her.
I'm gonna turn this pool into a jacuzzi. Ha! Oh, that's nasty!
I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't part of the charm, though. Now, what I want to know is if this is better or worse than a talking cat's horrendous lip-syncing of a live-action cat. Anyways, after being introduced to the Rogues Gallery that will definitely play a large part in the plot later on, we meet the owner of the pet store who is speaking with the landlord of the store, as it appears that the owner is behind on the rent. However, he assures the landlord that he'll be able to make next rent as he has a prized mutt worth tons of cash. The store is closed for the night, and then the next day we switch perspectives to the film's real protagonist, the ever-relatable 12-year-old Crystal. She just moved into the area with her mom after her parents split, and she's having trouble making friends at school with people her age. Instead, she finds solace in those she knows at the mall, such as the previously mentioned pet store owner, the mall Santa, and even a goofy security guard, Paul Blart. I'm sure he won't be important later. After Crystal gets bullied by some girls for asking the egregious question of, "Do you want to study together?" she sits on a bench where some weird other mall Santa kinda just pops up, gives her a pep talk, and then makes her take a magic coin and use it to make a wish? Okay. This character just kind of appears and then just disappears for the rest of the story, and it's just kind of weird. Anyways, with her one wish, Crystal wishes for a friend. She then goes to the pet store where she finds out that her wish allows her to hear Grumpy Cat's telepathic voice. I mean, yes, you heard that right. She can now fully communicate with Grumpy Cat as the two of them are fated to be best friends, just like what Crystal wished for, I guess. Stunned, Crystal spends the rest of the day trying to track down the other mall Santa, but doesn't, and then she just goes to a party with her mom later on that night. Along the lines, we're introduced to a grown-up Bill Walter and Roger Heffley from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, grown up into a shitty punk band struggling to make cash to go on tour. However, they see the prized pooch worth millions of dollars, and that gives them the idea to steal him later that night. When night falls, Crystal sneaks out of the party without her mom's consent, and heads back towards the mall so she can see Grumpy and try to understand why any of this is happening. Meanwhile, Thing 1 and Thing 2 initiate their plan to break into the mall and take the dog for themselves. They start by tying up Paul Blart, taking the master keys, and disconnecting the security cameras before making a mad dash to the pet store. They slip into the store, take the dog, and make their way to the car. Moments after, Crystal shows up, witnesses the crime in progress, and meets with Grumpy. They find out that the crooks actually left the keys in the pet store because they're fucking morons, and then they take the keys for themselves, but the criminals discover the girl and cat, thanks to them wandering into a Christmas village into the mall, drawing attention to them, causing a mad goose chase to ensue, during which Crystal discards the keys into a wishing well in the mall to keep them safe. The amateur musicians, girl, and cat make their way to a big five or something, where Crystal devises a plan somehow. I mean, it's never been exactly established that she's smart, but sure, whatever. She puts Grumpy in a tent to serve as a decoy as the two crooks open the tent, only to be met with the cat and paintballs as Crystal just so happened to locate the equipment in the store. Bill Walter grabs a bow and arrow before shooting himself literally in the foot, which gives Grumpy and Crystal enough time to make it to the security desk. There they find the middle-aged Paul Blart, where they untie him as he escorts Crystal and Grumpy to the mall's exit, as Crystal explains how she can hear Grumpy Cat's thoughts. Also, Paul Blart says he doesn't have a cell phone. I'm sure that detail won't be important later. Right before they make it outside, however, Paul Blart's phone rings, meaning that he lied earlier and that he could have called the police once Crystal set him free, meaning he's in on the plan. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this twist villain. Firstly, this just comes out of left field in the story. It goes from him listening to Crystal's sob story to him suddenly being evil with no real transition. The story doesn't even foreshadow this fact like most good stories do. In fact, earlier the film shows the criminals tying up Paul Blart, and they don't appear like they're working together at all. It's like the writers didn't even revise the new addition to the script and just kept it as is. Not to mention that he doesn't even have any motivations for what he does. He states that he wants to use the money to retire, which, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I don't see how this has anything to do with the scheme with the Rockers. Was there a scene missing when they came together and corroborated this plan? From all angles, this just does not make any sense. Regardless, the three crooks catch the girl, tie her up in a chair, and get some info out of her.
Every year, retailers lose $45 billion to shoplifters. It's the job of loss prevention officers to protect against these shoplifters. Only at shoplifter.com.
With no other choices, Crystal confesses that she threw the master keys into the wishing well. All hope seems lost as Crystal cries because every other movie has something like this, so this needs it too. But the other pets of the pet store help to free Crystal and begin the counterattack. Crystal is able to snatch the phone away from Paul Blart, which she uses to call her mom to let her know what's going on. Crystal steals Paul Blart's scooter and uses it to harass the crooks until it runs out of juice when the three crooks make their escape. Crystal then just decides to steal a fucking car. I mean, just steal the car that's in the mall and probably has no gas, but what? Not to mention, she's only like 12 and we're supposed to believe that she can drive a full-on sports car. There's a lot I'm willing to believe in this movie because, I mean, it's a hokey holiday special. I mean, come on. I have to suspend my disbelief to some degree. But if you really think that I'm going to believe that a middle schooler knows how to drive competently on the first try, then you have another thing coming. Regardless, she gets the hang of it somehow and drives straight towards the exit before hopping out, opening the doors, completely blue-balling the audience. Aubrey Plaza even states that they didn't have enough in the budget to bust through the glass.
Okay, so here's the deal. We had every intention of shattering that thing, but unfortunately, we didn't have the budget for it. Okay? Not my problem.
Crystal chases the villain's car until they meet head-to-head, where they just drive straight into each other as the villains swerve out of the way straight into a toll booth that was definitely constructed using 2x4s, gum, and scotch tape. Despite that, it's enough to total their car, and the cops come to arrest the thieves. Crystal's mom comes, thankful she's safe, makes a reference to my shoplifter joke from earlier, and Crystal is thanked for doing a good Macaulay Culkin impression. Then, we fast forward to Christmas, where Crystal receives Grumpy Cat as a pet gift, and everyone lives happily ever after. Hooray. This film is just all kinds of odd. Even just looking at the cover, you get the feeling that this isn't something that shouldn't exist. It's a film clearly made on the cheap to capitalize on what relevance Grumpy Cat has in the public consciousness, and use her likeness to market an otherwise mediocre Home Alone ripoff. You've probably noticed that I've just been calling characters by nicknames such as Paul Blart, Rockers, or Criminals, because none of these characters, aside from the Rockers, Crystal, and Grumpy Cat, are memorable in the slightest. The only reason I remember Crystal's name is because the movie mentions it constantly, and it's also on the back of the box. Also, for some ungodly reason, this film makes the bold move of having Grumpy Cat interject with a green screen to comment on literally fucking anything, especially when she's not in the scene, just to really squeeze all they can out of the Grumpy Cat license. To the film's credit though, it definitely dips into the so bad it's good territory when the film starts rolling. I absolutely love the two rockers in this movie. They just managed to have good chemistry and bounce off each other well thanks to the hammy acting that they completely steal the show. I would say the film is worth watching just for them alone. Honestly, I kind of recommend this film, oddly. It's just one of those films you have to see to believe just how shit it is. It's funny because this movie is literally on the level of a Smosh video. That's how low budget and unprofessional it is. In fact, I was reminded of the Superpowers video while watching, as that video features a dog with a telepathic voice.
Hey, give me the hot dog! Give me the hot dog! Hey, give me the hot dog! Give me the hot dog!
So yeah, if that doesn't tell you what level this movie is on, then I don't know what will. So yeah, give this movie a watch if you can. You can find a copy for about like $10, which isn't half bad. You can watch it like every holiday season. With that all said, I was Rhythm Rev. This was my brain dump of the week. I hope you hated it. I'm running out of sign-off slogans to parody.